Hey guys, what's going on? I'm filming a podcast for us today. Hope you guys are all doing well. Happy, I think it's Thursday today. Yeah, happy Thursday, everybody. So today I want to talk about reprogramming your thoughts and mindset. So one of the main things that, hold on a second. One of the main things that's very important to do once you're starting a personal growth journey or a spiritual growth journey is to reprogram your thoughts and your mindset to change the conditioning that you were given from birth or from your parents, from society, from your friends, different people that kind of conditioned you to be a certain way, right? So one of the main important things to do is to start thinking independently and to think for yourself. And for a lot of us, this requires reprogramming of your mind. So we kind of have to flush out everything that was once told to us in order to think differently. And one of the first things that we'll have to do in order to reprogram our thoughts and mindset, especially if we come from like a family or from a past or have habits of thinking very negatively, we're going to have to do a lot of shadow work. So one of the main things that I had to do as well is to do a lot of shadow work. So personally, I was always very critical of myself. I was always I expected a lot of myself. And where can I go with this? I always have like so many notes that I'm going to talk about, and then I always end up going on a tangent anyway. But yeah, so going back to myself, I was always very, very critical of myself, and I expected a lot of myself. So I put a very high standard on my life, and I feel like this kind of caused me to maybe not see as many of the blessings in my life that I had at given times in my life. But I will say also that my critical way of thinking did come from my upbringing, from when I was a child, just the way that I was raised. It'll be a story for another time. But one of the main things that you want to do here is pinpoint the blockage. So for shadow work, what you really want to get down to is the nitty gritty. You want to actually get down to the main point or the reason or the main blockage that is actually preventing you from growing. So for a lot of people, this is something that can be very scary. A lot of people don't like to do shadow work because you have to look at certain memories, or you have to look at certain things that maybe you don't want to look at. But this is by far like the first and most important step that you'll need to make. So you want to pinpoint that blockage. So it's like, okay, let's go back to, where did this start? So for me, I could say that it started when I was a child. When I was asked to do certain things, or when maybe my parents spoke to me a certain way, it kind of ingrained this way of thinking. Or it could also be the way that they treated themselves, the way that they treated each other. I picked up on certain habits, and I picked up on certain cues and just ways of thinking that my parents did, because that's all that I knew. And that's what a lot of us do as kids. We kind of just learn from our parents. We take what we can see around us, and we believe that's the right way to be. And we have to teach ourselves as we get older, if this doesn't resonate with who we are, we have to teach ourselves that there is another way of thinking. There's another way of being. So you got to pinpoint the blockage. And this is definitely the most painful part of shadow work. So for myself, what I did a lot of is like screaming therapy. I actually did do a lot of active anger release, is what I'll call it, like scream therapy. Like I had a lot of like pent up rage personally from my childhood. My inner teenager especially. So I went through bouts of getting very angry, like screaming, going in your car, punching the pillow, like do what you got to do in order to get rid of that emotion, in order to work through that emotion, because the only way to get rid of it is to face it head on. So what can work also is talk therapy. Certain people like to do exposure therapy. I personally had to live through that as well. I had to be around. Once I got down to the pinpoint of my blockage that I was trying to address, I still had to be surrounded and exposed to certain things that were very triggering for me, and that actually caused those blockages in my subconscious. So for a lot of us, it's not really a choice, but for a lot of other people, they also like to do that. They like to be exposed to the thing that has hurt them in order for them to actually realize that maybe it's not so scary, or maybe realize that now they have the tools to face it differently. So there are different ways that you can go about that. But once you have kind of worked through the deep emotions, once you have kind of gotten through the worst part of whatever you're trying to release, or whatever you're trying to change about yourself, your life, your mind, you next want to actively change your response, right? So if you're faced with another situation where, let's say, you get angry easily, let's say the next time you get angry easily and you feel that emotion rising within you, maybe next time you don't yell, maybe next time you don't snap, but the next time you take a deep breath. or you pinpoint the emotion you're feeling. It's like, okay, I'm feeling angry right now. What am I going to do about that? How can I act differently than I have acted in the past? So that's also one of the main things that is going to be very crucial to reprogramming your mindset, because your mind is already conditioned to react a certain way. Your brain is conditioned to think a certain way, and your neurons in your body, your vagus nerve, like your nervous system in general, especially if you're a highly anxious person or if you've been through a lot of trauma, it's already conditioned to have you elicit a certain type of response. So the action of actually changing the way that you deal with something can be extremely difficult. There's still situations in my life that I have a hard time kind of working through, because I'll feel that trigger come up and I have to process it and I have to work through it differently, because I myself used to be not an angry person, but I'll definitely say that like I reacted emotionally. I reacted impulsively to certain things because of just what I've been through. So that can definitely be, if not like actually facing what the trigger is, trying to actively change it is going to be the most difficult part. And this, you might notice, it might take a longer time in your healing journey. And this is all part of trying something different. So, right, the main thing that we have to do in order to reprogram those neurons, to reprogram our mindset, our emotions, is to do things differently than we typically would have done them. And that can be very hard. But I feel like this can bring about a lot of inner child healing. And I didn't write this down either, but inner teenager healing, like a lot of us will heal the inner child, but we forget that we have a very angry or very scorned inner teenager that also needs some love and attention, that also needs some healing work done. So you can definitely look back to situations that triggered you, or situations that happened when you were a teenager, because this can it can be a totally different type of trigger than when you were a child. So overall, the main thing here with shadow work, this is the first step. You want to get it out first. You want to actually see what the problem is and try to change that. So then once you get to that point of being able to recognize your triggers and being able to try to think differently or try to have a different response than you normally would have, you want to try to seek some sort of balance within your emotions. So in order to do this, a lot of the things that I did was nurturing my mind, my body, my spirit. So for my mind, I would seek peace, I would seek silence. That's something that's very important to me, having enough time that I can kind of just decompress, especially in the morning. That's very, very important to me. Nighttime as well, but more so in the morning. I feel like my mind is more sensitive in the morning and I just process a lot more. So I really like to have quiet time. And another thing that nurtures my mind is reading, or being in nature, exercising. And all of those things are also things that nurture my body. So one of the main things that when we're working through a lot of emotional trauma is you want to keep moving. So what I like to tell people is make sure that you're exercising, or make sure that you're just, taking a walk. If you don't like to exercise, if you don't want to do anything else aside from that, make sure that you go on a walk, or make sure that you do something that can help you move, because emotions can become stagnant energy if they are not moved throughout the body. So movement, exercise is extremely important, especially if you're working through something that's major or extremely traumatic. And then when it comes to your spirit, so for me, again, it was reading, being in silence. Things that nurture my spirit are going to places or participating in activities or being around people that make me feel fulfilled, that make me feel like my heart is fed. So that's something else that you guys could do as well, and that's going to be different for all of you. So finding something, at least one thing in each of those categories, something that's good for your mind, something that's good for your body, and something that's good for your soul or your spirit, that's really going to help you progress on your healing journey, because it's going to help support that new version of yourself that you're becoming. Anything that you can do to feed your growth as an individual. I do feel that, so going back to what I just said, in order to become different, in order to change, to reprogram your mindset, reprogram yourself to a different version or a higher version of yourself that you want to become, you actually have to feed your growth as an individual. So you have to do things that an old version of yourself would not have done. Whether it's like trying something new or learning something new, or challenging yourself in a new way, whatever it may be, you want to do something that's going to actually force you to grow. It's going to be a little difficult, or it's going to be a little daunting, or it's going to be something that can even be intimidating for you. But this is part of growing. Like if we were to never grow, if we were to never challenge ourselves, we would never become different people, and we would stay the same all the time. So always growing. I always like to keep a student's mindset. So I always like to learn. I always like to have conversations with people that know more than I do. I'm kind of getting that phrase now where it's like, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I feel like that's a very true thing to live by, because I feel like if you kind of feel, or if you think to yourself that you have done all the growth that you can, if you've learned everything that you can, you are like perfect, or you don't know, or you can't grow anymore, then you're kind of capping yourself at a specific level where you can actually aim much higher. So always growing, always learning, always trying to become better than you were the day before. So, and yeah, again, healthy vessel is key to finding clarity. So what's very, very important as you are going on a personal growth journey, healing journey, spiritual growth journey, you want to make sure that you are eating healthy and drinking water, and maintaining a good routine, so that way you can actually have clarity in your mind, so that way you can actually I'm thinking specifically for like downloads and for spiritual practice, because that's what helps me. Like when I have a clear body, when I eat healthy foods, when I'm on a strict like health routine, or just following my exercise regimen, then I will definitely notice that my mind is very clear, and I can receive messages very clearly for myself and for you guys, for my clients. But I think this goes to show that even if you're not like a spiritual person, or if you don't want to, you know, channel messages, like this is still very important. In order to be the best version of yourself, you want to make sure that you feed your body properly. You want to make sure that you provide nourishment to the vessel that supports you. So it's another thing. Oh shit. So another thing that some people like to do, I like to do this sometimes, is playing brain games. So you guys can actually play like crosswords or Sudokus, or I know there's some apps out there also. Some of them I think you have to pay for, but some are free, where you can just play different games and it challenges your mind. It kind of just fires different neurons in the mind, and it keeps your brain growing. Because I forgot the exact age, and I forgot the source that I got this from, but I do believe that they say that after like the age of like 20-25 is when your brain starts to kind of deteriorate, where you don't really absorb as much knowledge as you did when you were younger. I'm not sure how true that is, but I know that if you constantly challenge yourself to learn, and you constantly challenge yourself to grow, then you won't necessarily have to deal with that. Because the brain's a muscle, right? So if you think of like the body, if you don't feed the brain, it's going to atrophy. You're going to lose some of that function. But if you keep challenging it, I'm getting music now too. Like music is extremely important for learning. It's extremely helpful for retaining information and just uplifting your mood in general. So music is great, anything artistic, anything creative. Make sure that you keep your brain occupied. Make sure that you train it. Make sure that you keep it stimulated, because that's going to make sure that you remain young as well. Young mind, young body, young spirit. So let's see here. Make sure I touched everything on this part. Yeah, connection, hobbies, reflection, healing, reading, learning. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be different for everybody. Like for some people, they love to be social. They love to meet new people, and that's something that's very nurturing. For other people, they like to go to different places. They like to explore different like museums, cafes, or like parks, or social events. Like people like to do different things to actually nurture that spirit, to help what's the word I'm looking for, to inspire them. So if you're looking for inspiration, if you're looking for something to help you think differently as well, getting around other people, or reading a book, or listening to a podcast from someone who thinks differently than you do, is going to be extremely beneficial and extremely helpful in that sense, because you're going to hear someone else's perspective, and it's going to help you kind of relate that to your own life and relate it to your own perspective, where it kind of causes you to maybe compare the two, where it causes you to just process your thoughts in a different way. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. Or maybe like your brain expands and you're like, oh, that's great. Like maybe I can add that to my life's motto or to my ideology. So I think it's always great to not necessarily cap yourself off, but like continue to grow and continue to learn. Maybe that's just like my 9th house Jupiter talking, but I love learning. Like I love learning from other people. I love listening to people's life stories or perspectives, what they've been through, things that they like to teach, things that they've been through. I said that already. Yeah, I think just for a lot of people, just kind of hearing someone else's story can be very moving, and it can be very healing and inspiring. So let's see. Yeah, I'm just hearing to say, because I'm getting a download now too, I'm just hearing like, if you're having a hard time with your perspective in life, or if you feel like you need to hear something differently, then try to find someone else to talk to, or like go to a social event and hear someone's story, sit down with someone for a little while, because I feel like you might learn something that maybe you didn't think of previously, or it'll help you kind of just gain some clarity or like a breakthrough in your life. Like I know for me, I have a lot of synchronistic moments in my life So I feel like when I come across somebody, or when I meet somebody for the first time, or even if I'm just like walking into a stranger in public and we end up having a conversation, or they end up sharing some sort of information with me, or sometimes I share information with them and I'm sort of like that catalyst for them. But there's a lot of situations where it's like you're meant to be in that place with that person at that given time, because they're meant to share something with you and you're meant to share something with them. So it's just one of those moments where it's kind of just like a passing moment in time, where something is just meant to happen to kind of catalyze you to a higher level. So yeah, connection is very important, very great. I already mentioned exercise, healthy food, challenging yourself, learning hobbies, learning a skill, like anything that requires you to actually train your mind or your hands or your body to do something, like that's going to be extremely beneficial to reprogramming your mindset, because not only are you reprogramming your mind, but you're training your body how to do something differently, and that's extremely great for growth as well. So so once you've gotten to this position in life, or your healing journey, where you feel like you're seeking balance, where you feel like you're getting to this point of like, okay, like I can recognize my triggers, I recognize my blockages, I'm actively healing them, I'm actively trying to be a better person or a different person, or I'm trying to do things differently, then you're eventually going to get to this position where you feel like, okay, like there's certain things in my life that maybe I'm still addicted to, or there's certain things that maybe I need to give up, or things that shouldn't be here. Maybe I need to minimize something, or maybe I need to cut something out. And I did actually write down the definition of addiction here. So I wrote down: a persistent and intense urge to engage in any behavior that produces a reward despite harm or other consequences. So an addiction in this sense would be not something that necessarily you can't give up, but it's something that you know that is causing you harm. It's something that you know that is not good for you and you continue to do it, or it's something that you know hurts other people and you continue to do it. So over time, you know, as you get to this level of healing and your conscience starts to become stronger, and you just get to this position where you are slowly becoming this better and higher evolved version of yourself, you're going to realize that there are certain things that maybe you're ashamed of, or certain things that you don't want to participate in anymore. And this is just another level of reprogramming that mindset. So let's say, well, when you were younger, you've been through a lot of abuse, and maybe you learned to grow up in like the fast life or the party scene, or let's say you learned to be around certain substances or alcohol, and maybe once you evolved on your path, you don't want to do those things anymore. So that's a sign for you also that you're ascending, that you're evolving, that you're changing, because you know that in this new stage of your life that there's not exactly any more room for things in excess. So I'm not going to say that you have to cut everything out completely, but if you know that it's getting in the way of your life, if you know that it's getting in the way of your growth, then that's something to ask yourself. I also wrote down here: remove anything that distracts you from growth. So eventually you're going to get to this point in your healing journey where you're going to be so focused and so tunnel visioned on this growth of learning and changing and becoming a better person every single day, that you're not going to want anyone or anything in your life that is going to slow that down. So you're eventually also going to get to this point where it's like, I have changed so much, I have evolved so much, I have actively trained my mind and my body to process things differently. I don't want to be around this person, I don't want to be around this place, I don't want to be doing these activities anymore, I don't want these habits anymore, because it's distracting me from my grander purpose and my grander vision. So that's how you know also that you have gotten to a place where you have grown significantly. And I think one of the main things overall when it comes to reprogramming your mind, reprogramming your mindset, thinking differently, trying to be a different person, I should have wrote down here too, like cycle breaking, because a lot of us here, like in this generation, we are breaking the cycles that our parents and our grandparents have been through. So it's like we're kind of like the first people to do things differently in our families. So one of the main things that you can remind yourself through this process is to be kind to yourself and be patient with yourself, because it is hard, it's very difficult. I'll definitely say that first stage, like that shadow work stage, it's something that you constantly go back to. Like it's not like you face your shadow one time and you're completely healed and you're like Jesus and you're ascending. Like it doesn't work that way. You'll go through phases, like you'll go through phases of shadow work and then seeking balance and then giving up addiction, and then you're gonna go back to shadow work, seeking balance, giving up addiction, and you're gonna go back again. So it's like a constant cycle as you evolve and as you continue to change during different stages of your life, and as you just become a different person through different experiences. So be patient with yourself. Don't force yourself to go at a certain pace. Be kind to yourself. Be gracious with yourself. Don't call yourself stupid. Don't call yourself slow. Don't call yourself dumb. Know that you are embarking on a journey that is very difficult and is going to be very fulfilling in the end. So definitely be kind to yourself. And another thing that's very important to me is express love everywhere you go. I always like to live by that. I always love to do that. Like, if I can be nice to someone, if I can be kind to someone, if I can make their day, if I can tell them something that's going to uplift them, if I can just be around them and maybe give them a compliment or have a conversation with them and it's going to change their life. Like, you never know what people are going through. There has been so many instances in my past where I really wish that I had someone there for me, or I wish that I had someone to be there for me, or to kind of support me or be compassionate towards me during different times, different experiences that I was going through, and I didn't necessarily always have that. So knowing that I experienced certain moments of my life completely emotionally distraught and alone, I know what that feels like, and I don't like people to feel that way, to feel the way that I did. So I always like to express love. I like to, if I know that I can be there for someone, I will tell them. I'm never going to deny myself a chance to express love to somebody. So I feel like if you guys can do the same as well, if you guys can kind of bounce around that energy of love and share it with as many people as possible, then we're going to be in a much better place collectively. And the last thing that I'm going to mention here that helps with reprogramming your thoughts, your mindset, is to be a little delusional. So a lot of the times when we are trying to grow, when we are trying to become a different person and ascend to a different level of ourselves, or even become our higher selves, we have to think in a way that we would never think. So let's say if you had like a limited mindset and you only thought that you were capable of certain things, you have to think much bigger than that. You have to aim much higher. You have to actually believe that you are capable of certain things, or that you're going to achieve certain things, that you are in a certain level of accomplishment, or like a certain, I don't know, a certain place in society, or that you're very like well off. This could even be for finances. This could be for love. This could be for anything. But it's like, if you believe that you're going to have, let's say, like that true love of a lifetime, then you're going to live in the sequence of events to actually achieve that. So you will. And that same thing goes for finances. If you believe that you only deserve, I don't know, a certain salary, then maybe that's all you're going to have. But if you aim higher, if you believe that you are worth more, and if you live in the frequency of earning more, getting more, learning constantly, getting yourself to a position where you actually believe that you deserve what you're asking for, then this is going to open up pathways in your mind, and it's going to help you, again, just to think differently. So I think a little dose of delusion is definitely healthy, but make sure that you check your mental health before that. Like, you don't want to be like way off the deep end and like not grounded in reality. So definitely make sure that you guys go through those first steps first, like shadow work, seeking balance. And then maybe once you get to a point where it's like, okay, like I'm mentally sane enough to aspire for more, then you can definitely aim a little bit higher. But I always like to say that depending on the person, the sky is the limit, you know, like you can go as far as your mind and your life will let you, but you have to also be grounded in reality. You can't let those things kind of let you fly off the deep end or get into situations that are unhealthy for you. Like, I'm kind of getting a reference to Icarus. Icarus thought that he could touch the sun, so he flew to the sun and he burned before he touched it. So it's something like that. It's like, don't be so overconfident that you hurt yourself, or that you hurt someone else, or that you end up ruining your life in the process. But make sure that you have a healthy dose of delusion as well, because that's exactly what's going to get you to that next level. It's exactly what's going to unlock that door for you and that pathway for you to achieve a new level of like wealth, success, stability, sanity, whatever it may be. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Reprogramming your thoughts and mindset. These are all things that I've been through, so of course I know that I mentioned to you guys in my videos that everything that I talk about are things that I have practiced and been through, so I am sharing things with you that have worked for me. If you have anything that you want to share in the comments below, let me know. If you want to share any stories, I would love to hear them, but this is what I have for you guys today. I really hope I was able to connect with someone in this message, and I will see you guys in one of my upcoming readings for you. Bye.